This episode, Staying Organized, a never-ending battle. In this episode, the Handyman Pros have a discussion about staying organized. It might sound boring, but it's critical to getting things done. We give you plenty of tips and tricks that work for us, systematization, inventorying, software aids, and more. Everything you need to know about staying organized. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Staying Organized, a Never-Ending Battle. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy who was disorganized this week, John. John, tell me the story about...
Right before, just to start off, right, just before the show, I'm like, where are my
glasses?
Where are my blanking glasses at? Good Lord. So, one of the things that I was doing this past week, I was cleaning out my office, and I haven't cleaned out my office. I empty the trash, of course, but, and try to straighten up my office and throw out stuff I haven't used in a while. And what a mess, and it's just, it's one of these things where I got to think, every time I do it, I bring out bags and bags of stuff out of the office, it seems like. And, then I come back and, sometimes I kind of outsmart myself now because I don't know where I put my stuff again. So it's getting, talk about aggravating, right? So, then I went out and I did the same thing with the truck. I took everything out. I cleaned it all up. I reorganized my tools since, I had a couple of days off, and I reorganized my tools and cleaned everything up and put it all back. But I was really cognizant of, where I was putting these things back, because one of the things that gets me all the time is just, like, wait a minute, I always have this, XYZ right here, and then when I go look for it, it's not there, even though it shouldn't be there in the first place, if that makes sense, it's always been in the way, but I always know where it's at. So I'm trying to, clean up everything. And so this kind of brought about an idea here of, I'm sure if, I'm doing it, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And you and I talked about it, and you're like, yeah, it's always try to stay organized.
And we wanted to extend this to more than just your truck, your tools, and your inventory, but also your office and your systems for run.
Exactly.
Like if you're running a handyman business, or even if you're just doing a project, right? If you're doing a DIY project, gosh, you got to have some organization. You got to have a flow of events, but you got to have an organization. So where is this? Where is that? What do I need? Right? Like, what do I need? And John, I know that's one of the things when you're doing your truck, because I'm the same way. It's like, I know I have 1.25" exterior drywall screws someplace. I know.
Exactly.
But where the heck are they? Right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And, up until this point, I always knew where I had them. And then I reorganized stuff and I put them all together. And I'm like, now I can't find them. I'm like, it's like, hey, who came in and did this? And you look, yeah, I did.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, but yeah, it's kind of weird. But you kind of have to retrain yourself. But back to the office thing, it was I try to stay organized, because when you're organized, you have less stress.
It's time, money, and let's talk time, money, and aggravation, right? So first off, if you need something and it's at your fingertips, right? That saves you time. Saving that time can save you money, and in my case, it saves me the aggravation, right? Really, it's more about aggravation for me.
It is, and I'll go one further. Is that a lot of times when I start to, and I'll bet everybody out there has done this. You have materials, or you have office products, or whatever they might be.
It doesn't matter.
And you forgot that you had them, and then you start to go out and you buy them again. I hate that. So I'm in the truck, and I'm pulling out, because I got this, like a false floor in it, where I slide in all my trim work and trim stuff and everything underneath it, and I start to pull all that out just to look at what I got. It was just taking inventory. What the hell do I got? So I'm picking, and I'm like, oh man, this is probably a $15 piece of, whatever, right? And,
you had a 2x4?
I'm like, I didn't. No, it wasn't quite that, but it was like, I was like, man, or that, for instance, kind of think of it, but it's like, I forgot that I had this, so boom, put that one back in the brain bin there, make sure that I understand what I have.
Yes, because it really does too. Like in our case, folks, when we're out there and we're doing a job, and it doesn't matter what job is we like to say I call myself a solution specialist, right? So I can take, if I have a piece of something, I can fix something if I know I have it. If I don't have, last thing I really want to do is go get it because of the time and all the aggravation of going to get a piece. If I have a piece with me, and I know I carry way too much inventory, but then again, I don't have to travel as much to the store, to get whatever, this, that, and the next thing. But it's still just kind of one of those things, and we run into that. So, Johnny, give us some tips. You were telling me you took that course, which was pretty interesting, about how the guy remembers where stuff is or who somebody's name is.
Well, if folks out there, I'm not gonna go teach a memory course here, but I took a memory course. Let's see, when was that? Oh, yeah.
From who?
From whom? So I took one back in the 90s. Actually, it was in the 80s, and I've never forgotten how to use it and things like that. But you have to be cognizant of how to use it. But there are techniques to be able to learn and understand what how to remember things. We all deal with don't want to go off on a tangent, but how to remember people's names when you're at a party or a social gathering or whatever. You walk around, hi, my name's Jim and Bill and Susie, and then the next thing you see him again at some other buffet line or whatever, and you're thinking, well, I met that guy. What was his name again?
Welcome to my world.
So but anyways, in business, it's always impressive to be able to go around the office table after the meeting's over and address everybody by their first names. Anyways, it's one of these things, and I for my system, what I did, in my truck, okay, and I've talked about this app before, that home contents app, and it's not, think outside the box a little bit on things like this, and it's not just for different rooms like your kitchen and bathroom and what you have and that kind of stuff, but you use it for your own inventory, taking pictures, being able to mark down what you have, not to go on it. You don't need a big inventory system, but, it's really helpful for me that I can I'm like, oh yeah, that's in this box. That's in this box. That's here, and I kind of put, like you do, Larry, I kind of kit things together, put tools and materials together for a particular job.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this before, organizing your tools and things like that. But I kind of go through this, and it works really well for me. I got a drywall box. I got a paint box.
Yep.
I got this, this kind of stuff.
Got a plumbing box. I got electrical box.
Exactly, and so on and so forth. And I try to keep everything kind of close by. There's some tools that cross all this.
Yep.
But but you keep all the specifics very close together. That way. As a handyman, I'm not doing these great big large, I'm doing a lot of little things, and it's great to be able to say, okay, boom, if I'm going to do drywall, boom, I got all my stuff right here. If I got plumbing, so on and so forth, I got it all staged out in this box, right? So that's kind of what I do. It has worked out great. I'm sure everybody else, if you're not doing that, you take a look at it. Whatever works for you, but that works. That's the kind of system that I have.
Yeah, I'm very similar. The key is systematization, right? Create a system, whatever works for you. We're not telling you our way is the best way because it's that it works for us. I put things in boxes that are I call them kits, but what they are is just like we just said. All my plumbing stuff is in my plumbing box, with a few exceptions, and those are things that have crossover. So for example, my 9/16 or my 1/2-inch socket wrench sits in a different place, but I use that to do a toilet because that's the size of the bolt that's on the ring. Blah blah blah. That's a little bit different, but like any specialized tools or any specialized product. For example, my plumber's putty is in my plumber's box. box. Why? Because that's all I'm going to use it for is for plumbing. So I know it's in that box. And that takes my truck. So, folks, I have a Nissan NV 2500 tall roof one. So this is cubic feet. This is a big truck. It's got a lot of space. If I don't narrow it down to that small box, I will never find it. I mean, it'd be gone forever.
And then the aggravation starts.
Yeah, so, and then you're like, I know I've got it.
That's what we want to get right. And I think that's what, at least I, selfishly here, I wanted to get across to myself. Is, that gets me aggravated. I'm talking to myself here. Is that, I have to keep a system going that I can continually find things, because you don't want to get to a customer site in terms of your tools and stuff like that, and then just start to search everywhere. I mean, that's really aggravating.
Well, that costs them money,
and it's not,
right?
Yeah, and it's not professional either.
It's not professional. Yeah.
So.
Or if you're just the homeowner and you're doing the same thing, if you've got stuff willy-nilly, helter-skelter, your time increase is huge doing a job.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even in in my office here, as I'm looking around, I try to keep everything together and in its place. And after a while, it's like when we're doing things in the office, I'm tearing it. I need paper here and I need pens there. You're all over the place, and I got my iPad here and there. And it gets out of hand, right? And pretty soon you get called away for whatever. You walk out of the office, you walk back. I walk back in, and here it is. It's all ripped apart. I'm like, And it's so nice to have everything back in its, back in its place. But that's kind of the way I do. And then we've got, the things that, and I know, Larry, you're the same way. I try to clean up everything after I get done with them. I hate, especially in the tool side of things. I don't like to put anything back dirty.
No, me neither. No, I mean, and it needs to go back where it goes.
Yes.
Right. It has a spot. It goes back clean. When you pull it out, it's going to be clean. Right. I don't like surprises. And so I know that if it goes back and there's other advantages to doing this and stuff. But if you always know if something's supposed to be there, gosh, I've had this happen where I'm like, I go to get back mostly on my tool belt. I go, where's my knife? Right. And it's not in the spot where it goes on my tool belt. Right. I'm like, where's my knife? And there it is, sitting up on top of a cabinet or something. Where the last place I used it, basically. But I set it up there because I was only going to be a minute, but I left it there. So my system, it's not a conscious system, but I look at my tool belt, and I go, it's not there. Where is it? And then turn around, and there it is, right? The critical thing, we've had this discussion before, but the critical thing isn't the fact that I lost the tool itself. It's when I go to the next job and I realize I don't have it. Then I'm like, son of a gun,
Yeah. You mean like when somebody leaves your caulking gun hanging on a fence?
Thank you, Johnny. So John borrowed my caulking gun one time and left it hanging on a fence, folks. And I went to use it, and I'm like, where the hell's my caulking gun? Anyway.
I swear to God, I gave it back to you. You didn't look on that fence before you left. One of the things that the professionals will tell you, anybody, that if you're working like on a ladder, if you don't wear a tool belt, let me back up. If you don't wear a tool belt, this is what I found. You start to lay your, pliers or wire cutters and stuff like up in ceilings, while you're working, right? While you're, if you're up in a suspended ceiling something like that, you use that as a shelf.
Yeah, bad idea.
And pretty soon you're like, wait a minute, you walk away a couple hours later, it's like, where's my wire cutters, right?
Yeah.
And they're stuck up in the ceiling, or they're somewhere else. It always seems to be that way. I'm working up on a ceiling somewhere, and there's a convenient place to put my pair of needle nose pliers on top of this cabinet. And you know what I'm saying, right?
I do.
And all the professionals will tell you, never ever do that. Always put it back in your tool belt, because you're going to forget your tools up there. And boy, it happens to me, and I focus on that all the time now when I'm up somewhere. I always wear a tool belt, put it all back in there, and then I don't have to worry about what I've left up there.
So I have a story. I want to thank whoever worked in this one particular house before me, because they did a lot of that stuff, and I got some great tools out of that gig, man.
Oh yeah. That's a okay. You know what? That's like searching your couch for change.
Well, it was like free, like, hey,
So,
this is a great pair of pliers.
Exactly. This is
You
like
know?
searching your couch for change. So, folks, if you're out there, and you just moved into a place, look up on those spots. You might find some tools.
I found a pair, John. You'll appreciate this. I found a beautiful pair of straight aviation, not straight, but they're designed to cut the straight line. The real angled ones, straight aviation snips, sitting up on a roof. I mean, literally right out, basically out in the open. And I'm like, well, that's like,
that was the job that we did.
Yeah, they're like $25. I mean, I was like, and I go and I grab them and I ask the owner. I said, "Are these yours?" And he goes, "No, they've been sitting up there since the last contractor was here." I said, "Can I take them?" He goes, "I appreciate you getting them off my roof. Thank you."
Yeah, you tossed them off the roof. I remember that,
and I kept them. They're in my tool belt now because they're decent. They still work great. I was like, "Well, thank you very much." There's a little tip for the day.
It's incredible. I found hammers up on my roof. I found, it's like, really? So it's one of those things where you can. It's easy to lose tools if you don't have a system, and you're not cognizant of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So always have a system. Mine is, I just mentioned it. Mine is I always put a tool belt on so I can put it back in the tool belt so I don't leave it anywhere.
Yep.
The time, Larry, when we were doing that big wiring, we were putting in all those lights in that basement. I started to, I was getting tired. I was starting, winding wires together all over the place, hanging those lights in that ceiling. And I was putting my needle nose pliers and wire snips up there. And I'm like, oh no, no. I caught myself,
Yep.
I said, I am going to lose these things. And those are the, those are the go-to tools. And it's like, oh man, you talk about running around trying to find that stuff and wasting time. So
a quick tip. I want to give a quick tip on finding things. Once you realize you've lost something, how do you find it? How do you find it? So for me, this is Larry speaking. Okay. Depends what the tool is. So if I'm looking for a pencil or pen, and folks, you're all going to laugh at this, the first place I have to look is behind my ear. Because I will lose a pencil or pen behind my ear faster than I will be running around going, where the heck is my pencil? I can't find it. And I'll put my hand up on the side of my head, and there it is, right? There it is. And everybody, I think if you've done this a while and you happen to do that, you've done that. Everybody's done that. Second thing for me is small tools, things like my knife, sometimes my needle nose pliers or dikes or something small. If I can stick it in my pocket, like in my actual pants pocket, and if I'm just using, like, for example, if I'm taking a scraper or something, I just have to go scrape a little something, So I'll go grab my scraper, I'll stick it in my pocket. I'm just like, I'll just stick it in my pocket, You get back to the tool belt to put everything away. I'm like, where's my scraper?
Yeah.
You start looking around, and you're like,
yeah, especially I kind of wear these cargo shorts,
right,
in the summertime,
right,
and I use those for kind of a tool belt,
right,
putting little stuff in there.
That's what I'm talking
pretty
about.
Soon, it's like you forget about it.
You forget about it.
It's like, where did it go? Or you search for your glasses, and it's like, oh no, I'm wearing them.
They're on, you're on your head.
It's kind of weird, folks. But I'm sure everybody's gone through this. I'm sure you can relate to that.
But so check your pockets, and then the next tip is retrace your steps. So if you were using your electrical tools, for example, just going to use that. Where is the last place that you did electrical on the job? And many times it's going to be up in that ceiling or whatever, wherever you'll go, the last thing I did was I was hanging that light. And sure enough, you'll put the ladder over there, you'll go up there, and there they are sitting on top of the tiles, right? So retrace your steps backwards. Where do you think you used it the last time? So do that. Past that, I don't know if I have any other tips. Do you, John? For finding things?
No, I mean, it's these things can kind of get away from you. I'm glad you brought that up at the end here, because it's, it's kind of funny. I was working on my car the other day, and I had some of my wrenches out, And this is classic. If you guys, you folks out there working on your cars and stuff, you can relate. Every time you turn around, if you're on your back on a creeper or something, it's like, where did I just put that wrench? It's like, oh my God. And you're going back and forth, and it's always, you just have to be cognizant. And I had a wrench, and I was using it. I start the car up. I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just leave that, next to the, the belt and the fan and everything where it's going to get sucked in, and, but lo and behold, I had put it back, and I didn't even remember myself putting it back. It's kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of getting weird.
My favorite in doing automotive repair is if you drop something into your engine compartment, oh, folks, it will land on the. If it makes it to the ground, number one,
you're lucky.
You're lucky, but B, it will land dead center in the car at the farthest point away where you can't get it. You will be crawling under the car to get it, because that's just always the way it is.
Yep.
If it makes it to the ground, if it doesn't make it to the ground, it can be gone forever. I mean,
and that's organizing that kind of a toolbox is that's a whole nother
different game.
That's a whole nother topic. But it's still the kind of the same, in the same vein here, is that you just kind of have to have a system and just be cognizant of putting things away as you're using them.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble.
And this extends to your office, to your home, your finances,
absolutely.
Right? Your finances. Keep things organized. The better organized you are, I don't care what you're doing. If you're organized, it helps you be productive. It saves you time, money, and aggravation, right? I mean, I have a system for my receipts. It's really simple.
Yeah.
They all start going into my wallet. Everything starts in my wallet. After my wallet, it comes out. It goes onto my desk. It gets entered into the computer or whatever. Sometimes I've been doing it lately on the phone, which is cool. That's a new technology. But anyway, I don't want to belabor that. But then it goes into a file. And in my file, so I know I have all of my receipts. I know where they are. I can access them with relative speed, not huge, but because I don't have an actual system in the files themselves. But I know all my credit card bills are in this specific spot. All my other bills are in this other specific spot. So if I do need them, at least I have access to them, right?
And this is a good way to end up the show here. Is that the receipts, and a lot of folks out there, you're keeping track of your receipts or other paper. I do right now in my car, my truck, I keep the old type of shoebox. Albeit it's a new plastic shoebox, but I put a hole in the top of it, like a slot, and I stick all my receipt. I'll write on the receipt, and then I'll stick it in there. Okay.
That's a good idea.
It might take me some time to get through there, to find some specific things, but I know they're all right there. So I kind of, when I was taking care of, my home in Chicago, I bought a big box, and I had to go through a whole bunch of other stuff. I was doing a million things at one time, but that one box I dedicated, and I called it my brain, and I dumped everything of mine that concerned me personally into this box at the end of the day. So everything was right there. My wallet, keys, everything.
Yeah.
I just put it all in one spot.
Yep.
But going back to the receipts, that's a good one. So I know a lot of folks out there, if you're handyman and you're doing this as a business, hopefully that you have an accounting system. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's a whole.
And we're going to talk about some of these things later. But hopefully you have some kind of a system. But how critical these receipts are, and how critical it is to keep track of what you're spending, your inflow and outflow of revenue, right, and funds and costs.
And even for the DIYers, keep track of what a project costs. So that you kind of have an idea. It's nice to be able to say, hey, I built the retaining wall and it cost me $3,468. You don't have to have exact, but it's better than just like, well, I think I spent X. You have a real idea, because there's some tax. It's a long. Like I say, we're not going to do an accounting show.
Yeah, we're not doing that. But
there's potential tax implications, and there's potential. There's all kinds of things that you can take advantage of this stuff with, and so you want to kind of have an idea. It's like I say, when we talk about organization, we're talking about it in broader sweeps. While we're talking about doing it to being a handyman, having your home, your tools, and all the rest of your stuff organized. But these concepts apply to everything in your life. everything.
Exactly.
You know, staying organized is just critical. You know, it's just critical. Know what food's in your refrigerator, for God's sakes, because you'll throw it out because it goes bad. You know, I learned that in the vending business, right? When I was in the vending business, we had to keep stuff organized by date because the longer it was out there, it got bad. We had to throw it out. Well, we didn't like throwing stuff out because that was throwing out money, you know, and so we kept it organized, you know. So anyway.
I'll end with, you know, hey, we'd love to, folks out there, we'd love to hear your feedback on this and your systems. You know, we'd love to be able to, you know, share those. You know, if you could want to share your system that you use all the time, you know, please do. I'd love to hear it. There, you know, there's no one system that I can recommend, you know, that works for you. It's your system. So, you know, I just love to hear how you organize your stuff, you know, on your truck or, you know, in your office.
In your office, in your truck.
Because I could use some tips.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just learned one, Johnny. I thought your plastic shoebox idea is actually a great idea. I really like that idea. There's some real application there. It might not necessarily. My receipts right now are pretty set because they just go into my wallet, but. But for other things, it's the same thing. If I've got, you know, I don't know. I mean, well, I'll give a different example, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. But like when I do an appointment for somebody, I do it through Google Calendar. This happens to be using a software program, right? But I put it in Google. I put their name, their phone number's there, all in one place. Their address is in one place, and any other pertinent information is in the notes. Why do I do that? I don't have to think about it. It's in one place. When I talk to them, it's all right there, you know, and their phone number and their contact information is critical to have it there because if for whatever reason I need to call them, I know right where to go get it, right? I know right where to go get it.
And we share that calendar. And
I
do the same thing. Yep. You know, on my way to an appointment, I try to keep everything in there. So on my way, all I have to do is I've got that one calendar, you know, entry. And in the notes, everything's there. Hey, what were they asking for? You know, so on and so forth. So I've got all that right at, you know, the summary of everything right there at my fingertips. So I walk up, I know exactly what, you know, what's going on, what's expected, and so on and so forth. But you know, that's a really good tip. That's a really good tip, and I'll bet most of the folks out there, you know, are taking advantage of all this, you know, these, you know, electronic calendars and things that, I mean, we're all walking around with smartphones and things like that. So there's no reason not to have, you know, that type of system going for you.
So anyway, John?
Yes.
Are the aliens organized? That's my question. You've been abducted more times than I have.
I tell you what, it seems like they're getting more organized by the minute if you follow the news. I don't know.
Jeez.
But I don't know what to make of it, you know. Once again, I'm sure we'll get some comments on this. So anybody out there that's been abducted, call 1-800-NSA. You know, it's like...
Ooh, yeah,
but
that's a little close to home there, Johnny.
You have to call them. You can go to the NSA and get your records.
Yeah, so, just go get your own records.
Yeah, just go get your records. But absolutely, man, take it apart.
Take it apart. Yep, we got it. All right, folks, if you enjoy the Handyman Pros radio show, please spread the word. Tell your friends and neighbors. Give them the link. Tell them these guys they're something else, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, I suppose. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email, questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show. You can join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros. We are on Twitter at Handyman Radio. We want to thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate the fact that you all are out there. We will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.